Welcome back to Getting to the Top, a podcast about transformational leadership, where I interview extraordinary leaders about their leadership journey. My hope is that by doing so, we're able to, one, inspire a whole new group of diverse and unexpected leaders to pursue leadership. Secondly, to enhance leadership for those who are already on the leadership journey. And third, and most importantly, change the world through maximizing our potential as human beings and have more diversity, equity, and balance throughout organizations. So today I have the great honor of having with me Stacy Adams. She's currently the Vice President of Investor Services at InvestTT, Trinidad and Tobago's National Investment Promotion Agency. She's also a director on the board of ExportTT, Trinidad and Tobago's National Export Facilitation Agency. She was previously at JAMPRO, at First Caribbean, at First Caribbean International Bank Barbados, Jamaica, Republic Bank Limited, Trinidad and Tobago. She holds an MSc in New Media Information and Society from the London School of Economics and Political Science in the United Kingdom, and a bachelor's degree in Mass Communications from the University of the West Indies. She is a classically trained lyric soprano and a two-time Trinidad and Tobago Music Festival champion. She has the most extraordinary voice, and she has sung leading roles in many productions regionally across North America and Europe. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you, Racquel. It's so good to see you. And let me start by saying, I think you're doing a wonderful job with this series. I've learned so much myself from having listened to those who I've worked with in the past, like Sharon Christopher, and others who inspired me by their journeys as well.
Wonderful. And I think it's fitting that you would have learned something from this series, because I learned so much from you. And I thought that was, of the people that I've led, I learned so much from you about leadership. And that was a really great experience for me working with you, which is why I said I must have Stacy on the series.
Thank you so much, Racquel.
All right. So is there anything else about your journey that you'd want to share? Do you want to jump right into our questions?
Well, you touched on it a bit, but I think, and it's only of late I've been thinking about it more, the extent to which my very early introduction to the performing arts has shaped my outlook on leadership. And I think to the extent that you perceive leadership to be a mindset, a way of life, the way that you move, the consciousness with which you move through the world. I've been a leader all my life. Yeah. I'm the first of 5 children, born into very humble circumstances in East Dry River. Wow. And what that meant being first, and literally the name Adams, you can't escape, whether it's on the school log, anywhere you go, Adams is always first. So I grew up being the guinea pig. Yeah, the guinea pig for my parents to figure out what this thing means to be a parent is all about, as well as the first in line for Spanish orals, French orals, guinea pig life. Yeah. And so in a very interesting way, that shaped my outlook, gave me a whole lot of confidence, because you're literally thrown in on the deep end. Yeah. And I think that's been a feature of my career from day one. I remember, like my very first job out of Holy Name was a television news reporter at TTT.
Wow.
To this day, I can feel the weight of the old pneumatic tape that they put in my hand and sent me on assignment at 18 years of age with a cameraman and a sound man who were like older men to me. And the assignment is yours to own. And your target is to come back at the end of the day and have at least 2 news stories to make the 7 o'clock news.
Wow.
So I was thrown in, learned a lot at TTT. Really had the benefit of working with people like Hazel Ward and others there who I was in awe of growing up. But I also realized through that experience that I had a lot to learn. Yeah. And so I made the decision from that time, I have to do my degree. I have to get properly trained. I mean, learning on the job is great.
Yes.
And at that time, the only place in the region where you could get media training was in Jamaica. It's not, the landscape now is very different. You can sit at your home and do this. I had to pack my bags and go to Jamaica at a time when my parents had no idea what Jamaica was about, or we were fed with media images of life over there. Yeah. So it was with a very heavy heart that I boarded a plane and prayed to God, just help me to get to these 3 years of university in this strange place. Racquel, can I tell you, that it took me all of 3 months. And on the way back, the flight back, I was literally crying because I thought to myself, Stacy, Jamaica has done one on you. I knew then that my relationship with Jamaica was going to be much longer and take me on a very different trajectory that I could ever imagine. And primarily because of that is, again, because of the performing arts. Yeah. I got involved with the university singers, had the absolute honor of working with Noel Dexter, Professor Rex Nettleford, and people like that who just
transformed the landscape. Yes.
What it meant to be a performer. Up to that point, I was doing musicals, Beatles, those things will fly in Jamaica. Right? Jamaica is very much about identity, Caribbean identity, the space. You can't come into contact with Prof. Nettleford and not, have that kind of impact. And so I thoroughly enjoyed my life there. Lifelong friends, people I've known for 20 plus years now. And Jamaica impacted my life and my professional career as well, significantly. After 20 plus years of working there, the professional equity I had when leaving Jamaica, and I left Jamaica like 2 or 3 times and ended up right back there.
Yes.
But that in a nutshell is what transpired with me. But with respect to leadership, I do think that the beginning of leadership is self-awareness.
Yes.
I've always known that. And I say that because, once again, going back to the impact the performing arts has had on me, the creative spaces are very safe places.
Yes.
They allow, there's a level of self-deprecation, knowing yourself, that you're not going to get the part of Nala, no matter in Lion King, no matter how much you audition for it, because you're not the body type. It's just not going to happen. And so it
forces you in a different way to sort of face realities.
Oh, yes.
Whereas other spaces might protect you a little bit more.
Right.
But you were first, first up for your parents, got on a plane, went to Jamaica. How much, what's the age difference between you and your nearest sibling?
7. I was an only child for 7 years and completely enjoyed it. Okay. And another interesting thing is that I grew up not knowing we were poor.
Oh, wow.
I grew up surrounded by abundance. I grew up, my mother always tells this joke that people would offer me money as a child, and I'll tell them, no thanks, my daddy's rich. She says she doesn't know where that came from, but I've always had a sense of the wider world around me, of opportunity, of the world is bigger than I could imagine, and certainly bigger than the circumstances I was born into. And so that was really an awesome experience. And I can look back now and see how that experience has really impacted my life, my view on leadership and other things.
But I think your outlook made such a difference as well. I can't imagine. I think, I somehow expected that your closest sibling was maybe 2 years later. So when your parents are putting you on that plane, it isn't with heart palpitations, but 7 years, you're like, no, this is, that would be quite scary. So from TTT, where did you go?
From TTT, I went to Jamaica to do my first degree. That too was another journey of leadership, because I ended up on the Guild, Deputy Hall Chairman of the Hall of Residence, being the leading the voice part, the soprano line in the singers, having a lot of different leadership roles on the management committee at university. Leaving university, I ended up with UNESCO. My first job there, working for the regional communications head. Absolutely fell in love with what it meant to have that kind of role, that regional outlook. And I think that impacted me as well. Being able to work and interact with people from across the Caribbean, that was quite an interesting journey. I had, at one point, actually, out of university, I was doing 3 jobs.
Wow.
At TVJ, Nationwide News, and another one, just to be able to make ends meet and be, someone fresh out of school who now is no longer in her parents' home,
Yes.
wants to stay in Jamaica because university singers, the life of being a performer in Jamaica was very different to me than being a performer in Trinidad. We toured extensively, saw the world. I was, surrounded by people who I really admired. And so I was doing what I had to do to stay in Jamaica, even if it meant at one point holding down 3 jobs. I think the turning point for me there, though, was when I went to the US Embassy. I actually worked in foreign service there as a foreign service national at the Kingston mission, and very quickly knew, I think I was there for all of 6 months, that this is not the trajectory I want to go on. And I think it's important, people usually ask you, what do you want? How did you know what you want to be or where you want to end up? I often think it's a whole lot more important to know exactly what you don't want.
Yes.
What kind of environments or what kind of journey you want to take, and knowing where you want to end up, so that you can filter out things that may impact
take you away from that.
Yeah.
So it's about being open to new opportunities while being very clear on what will not serve your end purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I like that very much.
Yeah.
And so you're with UNESCO, and I love that, because not only would it have given you sort of regional exposure, it would have given you global exposure as well. That's a well-respected global organization. You would have been exposed to sort of all sorts of different people, all sorts of different ways of doing things, and then to the US Embassy, and then where from there?
Then back to Trinidad, because at that point, things were getting really critical. And I said, Stacy, this trying to do several jobs thing and parent and make it, it wasn't working out. And so I came back to Trinidad, landed the job as the editor of Group Corporate Communications for Republic Bank on a 3-year contract. Had the absolute honor of working with Ana Maria Garcia Brooks. That interaction, that relationship changed my life.
Wow.
When you talk about authentic leadership, to this day, I think about when I have decisions to make, and I think what I admired was her ability to absolutely respect the individual in front of her and meet them where they're at.
Nice.
And have those conversations that made your particular journey through the work day, your assignments that much easier. I didn't have that kind of experience up to that point. And so that was very, very useful for me, very inspirational for me.
And I think it mirrors your leadership style a lot. I would say that certainly that was my experience with you.
Okay, thank you. I remember one day sitting at my desk at Republic. My contract was about coming to an end. I kind of knew I didn't want to renew it. And I did know that it was about time to do my master's. So I applied to universities. I knew that I wanted to go to London. So I applied to universities. And while I was awaiting a response, I was reading the paper and saw the ad for the PR manager for this new entity that was being formed called First Caribbean International Bank, which would have been the merger of CIBC, all of CIBC and Barclays regional. I remember reading that vacancy ad, and at the end of it thinking, they want me. The person they described, I don't think I've felt that way ever since about anything I've read, but there was something in me that said, Stacy, this job is yours.
Yes.
And I went after it. I didn't care who else who was more qualified, who had a higher profile. I said, this job is mine. And I went into it with that mindset, and I got it. Of course. I do recall the very first day that I went to work. They were in the middle of strategic planning. And we didn't leave office till around like after 11 at night. And I floated out. Oh, I was so happy to be there. Oh. It was the most inspirational experience. I was so happy to be surrounded by these people who knew what they were about. And strategic planning was this new thing for me. So I lived the life of an expat in Barbados at that time in the marketing department. And you would have been hard pressed at that time to find another similar marketing department across the region. There were people from St. Lucia, Dominica, Jamaica, Trinidad. It really represented a cross section of the Caribbean.
So for somebody who doesn't have, because the performing arts requires talent. For somebody without your sort of base of talent, wanting to have that leadership exposure, is it that they should get involved in anything that they're passionate about and use that as an opportunity to kind of explore and really spread their wings? What would you recommend?
I think so. I'm all for things happening organically. And I think that approach also helps with authenticity. If you throw yourself into something that feeds your spirit, or that you always wanted to do and you'll benefit from, get into it. Don't say no to any opportunities that come your way. Accept everything. Feel the challenge down to your toes and the fear and jump in because you'll benefit ultimately.
I absolutely agree. And I think, for so many of us, it's just sort of the second guessing. And I think while I on the issue of things happening organically, I agree to a point. I feel like the gender balance, I know that when you and I were growing up, certainly when I was coming out of high school, I recognized that there was a lack of gender balance, but I somehow thought it will solve itself because it's clear that women are so bright. I mean, the girls that I went to school with were absolutely magnificent, in every single way. So I just couldn't see a day where we would be having this conversation some, 30 years later. It just did not occur to me. So just, yes, there is a place for things happening organically and accepting, what the universe provides and breathing into spaces that present themselves. But I also think there's a level of deliberate action that also needs to prop that up to make sure that we are actually having gains.
Yeah,
versus
I would agree with you there as well. I don't think anyone should allow life to happen to them. Yeah, I think we have a lot more control, a lot more power, a lot more ability to determine how we spend our time, where we spend it, and to be a lot more strategic in some of the decisions that we make. So I would agree with you, yes, that it is important to chart a course. If you see there's an opportunity there, and there is a gap, nature bores a vacuum, go and create it.
Yes. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to map it all out, but as long as you have a plan and chart a course, you will end up moving forward. And that's the whole objective, is that you're moving forward, you're making progress. So then after the dream role that was made for you, what happened next?
This is, where was I now? At
First
Caribbean in Barbados. One day, I think maybe just under 3 years after being there, and 3 years really has been my kind of sweet spot. I'm at an organization for 3-4 years and I move on.
What a good point. Listen to me. I say that to women so often, because you get stuck. We get stuck in middle management. We get stuck on the journey, and then somehow we don't sort of break through that glass ceiling because you get too comfortable in a particular position. I think 2 to 3 years in any role is enough for you to A, make your mark, and B, learn what you need to learn to be able to get to the next level.
And you know what the interesting thing is? I have been with Investity now for 8 years.
Yes, I know. I left you there.
It surprises me. And I wonder, Stacy, why is this so? It's because Investity there's been so much change in that organization that it's almost a different organization every 2 or 3 years.
Yes. Different
leadership, different winds of change, all sorts of stuff. So I look back 3 years ago, and the organization I'm in now today is very different.
Wow.
3 years before that, a very different one. So I think that's part of the reason.
That's keeping you interested.
Yeah. And there's more change to come.
Yes.
And that excites me tremendously. I'm really excited by the opportunities that are going to arise with what's in store for Investity and other government agencies aligned to investment promotion.
Beautiful.
So I was at First Caribbean, rounding off 3 years, and just said, let me check. I know I had applied to universities. I had put that on the burner because I was living this fabulous life in Barbados. Let me just go check my emails. I did not know, Racquel, and I was offered a scholarship from a London School of Economics.
No way.
And they were sitting there
Waiting for you to respond, and you're like, devil may care.
They didn't hear from me, so they just said, okay, when she's ready, she'll contact us. And so I did.
Yes.
I don't think I resigned faster from anywhere. I think by day 2, I resigned completely from First Caribbean Barbados, and I think maybe within a week or 2 was on a flight to London to start my master's at the London School of Economics. That was fabulous.
Yes.
Because I was in London.
Yes.
Because the West End was just down the street. And so everything about what makes my heart happy.
Yes.
Performing, history. I grew up, part of my escape from that life in what they call behind the bridge. Somebody had given me a set of books from Charles Dickens. I grew up in Victorian England.
Oh, wow.
So everything, the ability to see so much of what I had read about the landscapes, the people, the historical buildings. London was fabulous. It was wonderful. The absolute best decision for my life at that point and my career. Met people from all over the world who I'm friends with still today. And just as LSE was wrapping up, and was wondering, there are people offering you jobs from long before you exit the university. I thought to myself, do I really want to be another West Indian in London? Mm-hmm. Or do I want to go back to the Caribbean where I have professional equity and live like a queen?
Yes.
Yes. And so I made that decision. And fortuitously, in my search coincided with First Caribbean Jamaica, looking for a marketing and admin manager.
Very nice.
And so I was back in Jamaica.
The call never left.
Very, very, very happy to be back in that space. And that was fabulous as well. Was able to work with some really good people, good leaders. And that really, at that point, I thought, okay, this is it. I'm back in Jamaica. Life is good. I'm happening. And then my position was red circled.
Oh, no.
And I had a choice to make at that point. Yeah. And I said, you know what? I'm rounding off about a good chunk of time. My 3 year was up. I was there for like about 5 years. I said, okay, I usually leave. Let me explore opportunities. Apply to JAMPRO. Got the job initially as their manager for knowledge services, and didn't realize I had joined the organization at a time of restructuring. And so 6 months after that was offered the role as manager of investment facilitation at JAMPRO. Loved it. It really represented a bit of a risk for me because it was, I guess, a step down,
industry,
but also a step down from my job at the country management level of a bank, regional bank, in terms of salary and what it meant. But it was a risk I happily took. Wise decision, because having been there and then deciding for other reasons, because my father's health took a turn for the worse, so that I wanted to come back to Trinidad and bank some family time. Yeah. The job there was InvestET, yes. And so it's really been humbling the way that my career has moved. I have always been kind of fearless with respect to job searches. I think I will always land on my feet.
Yes.
I thrive in learning environments. I welcome change. I am impatient of change sometimes. And as I mentioned, InvestET is an organization that has changed significantly since I first joined. And I'm looking forward to this new chapter again for the organization.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I remember that fearlessness in your interview. You just, you came in and you owned the room. And I should have known that you were a performer at some point, because you knew who you were, you knew what you were about. You came in and I think that is something that a lot of us miss, is that confidence of understanding that things will always change. And if you know that you are good at what you do, you will land on your feet one way or the other. And it may not be what you planned, but a lot of times it's something even better. And so, even me, with all that I've gone through and all that I know, I will sometimes spend too much time looking back at the closed door versus looking at the open one before me.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that that you miss opportunities, but you certainly can sort of languish too long in an old space when you could be filling up a new one.
And doing so much more. And you know, when we go back to my own personal philosophy about self-awareness being the beginning of leadership, the foundation, you learn, that journey then never ends because you're always consistently learning. And new opportunities, new environments, new people give you a sense to challenge what you thought you knew about yourself. And then you really have to sit with you and process it. Recalibrate and face the world again, hopefully a better version of you.
Yes, and that's the thing. I mean, you know, I sometimes I remember, I can't remember what it was yesterday. I learned something new yesterday and I was like, my God, still every single day I'm learning something new. I'm recalibrating. I'm becoming a different and hopefully better version of myself. But sometimes I'm like, gosh, I'm tired of learning new stuff. How don't I know everything already?
Sometimes, you know, you go on for a while and think, I got that. There are other things I'm dealing with. And then bam. You're humbled and reminded that you haven't really quite dealt with that particular aspect that needs interrogation.
Yes. Or you decide, you know what, here are the 3 things that I'm working on. And the universe says, 1 second. Here are 3 more to add to your 3. You have a nice little half dozen of things that you have to work on as you move forward through this life.
So true.
Yes. So, you know, it's been quite a journey. I think one of the things that I thought you did especially well, that I learned a lot from, was how you spent individual time with the members of your team. So tell us about what you think your leadership style is and how you go about things.
You know, Racquel, I think I try to lead by example, and that's in essence it. I wouldn't want my team members seeing me asking things of them that they know Stacy wouldn't do, or asking things of them that they know Stacy is really not for or about. So I try to lead by example. It's important to me, and also with authenticity. I think that's very difficult. I think it's very easy to spot when people are coming to you with a persona. And not their true self. And I think I would not want to be that. You know, I think it's good I'd always tell my staff I want them to be better than me. And not that I'm boasting that I'm great, but certainly I've gotten here because I've had the grit, I've had the stick-to-itiveness, I've taken the risks. But they need to be better than me. Because I could never understand, Racquel, leaders who don't want bright people around them, people brighter than them. As I said, I thrive in learning environments, and I learn from everybody. You know, and I really want to see them stretch themselves and learn to think a little better and strategically. And I enjoy seeing people flourish, because I know when I look back from where I'm coming from, were it not for people in my life and experiences that really stretched me, challenged me, and people who dealt with me authentically, I would think that I am this great X, but I'm really a Y. You know, it helps to get honest feedback and for people who deal with you authentically.
But you know, I'm remembering now, and I hope you don't mind me sharing one area in which you were not entirely fearless. You remember?
Oh, I know what it is. Let me see. 3 letters.
What?
Tell me.
No, IT.
I was going to say CRM, Salesforce. So we're on the same page. I think just today I was thinking about it. I mean, I would seize up, you know.
Yes, I literally said, Stacy, please break it. Let's try that. Let's try that. Because if the objective is to break it, then you will not be afraid of it, and you will just do what you need to do.
Yes, quite right. And I do remember that. I remember that distinctly.
Yes, because you were fearless in every other aspect, but for some reason, but it's true. I also think, and I think, I at least hope that I did. I hope that I was willing to hire people who were better and brighter and had capacity well beyond mine. And I feel like certainly when I hired you, that was one of those times where I did.
You know what I think of? The fact that we were in Jamaica at some point at the same
Yes.
time, and we never met.
For years,
And we lived, I think we lived close enough to New Kingston, never met.
We in
Paths
walking
never
distance,
crossed.
in walking
Yeah,
distance from each other.
yeah.
Yes.
And
And
I thought
Jamaica
to
is so
myself,
small with the social circles. It is
yeah,
impossible that we
exactly.
didn't meet.
Yes. And I thought to myself when I actually did meet you and found out who Racquel Moses was, my first thought was, this lady's a rock star. I
Oh,
kid you not. And I describe you like that to people I meet. I said, Racquel is a rock star. And that was my impression of you then. Look at how much you've done since we left. You're gone international, as we would say, right? So I admire you tremendously as well. And I think that there is an energy and a vision you have. And I know that you were dealing with diversity and women's issues from you in Jamaica.
yes.
Yes, I found out about that once
Yes.
I found out about you. So this is an authentic extension of yourself, and I'm grateful for that. And I think many of the podcasts I've seen have inspired me. I hope this is inspirational to some people, and I wish you all the best, Racquel.
Thank you. You know,
I'm looking forward to see what you do next.
I know. So somebody was asking me, they're like, is this your job? I said, no, this is my hobby. I said, but this is the thing that if I didn't do it, I couldn't live an authentic life.
Okay.
So I didn't choose this. This chose me because I just believe in diversity and inclusion. And I know that we'd have a better planet if we had more women in leadership, more women who led like you, more women who were willing to bring others along, to develop their teams, to encourage them, to get them going. And we have to continue to do that.
Yeah. As it is right now, I'm the only female on the Export TT board.
Wow.
And so that's an opportunity for me to make sure that there is another perspective.
Yes, absolutely.
Good opportunity.
Good. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate having had this chance to talk to you. And once again, thank you for joining us for this conversation with the magnificent Stacy Adams. And I hope that you like or subscribe to this podcast and you continue to join us and hear about these extraordinary leaders on this journey of getting to the top. Thank you so much.